"You're not welcome here anymore, Dad." Those words cut through Christmas dinner like a blade through silence. 14 people watching. My own son, Brandon, my grandchildren, Isabella and Spencer, staring with wide, confused eyes. I stood up slowly, my 62-year-old hands surprisingly steady, and smiled. "I understand completely, Brandon." The room went quiet. Even the neighbors could see through their windows as I walked to my truck. What nobody knew was that I'd been recording everything for 4 months. What they really didn't know was that Brandon had been living in my house this whole time, and my name was still on every deed, every document, every piece of paper that mattered. I'm Preston Garrett, and this is how I taught my son the most important lesson of his life. 48 hours later, the sheriff knocked on his door. But I wasn't broken. I was planning. Charlotte died on a Tuesday in March 2020. Cancer took her piece by piece over 11 months, and I watched every painful second. Brandon was 30 then, fresh into his IT management career, full of ambition and drowning in student loans. The funeral cost $22,000. I paid it with money I'd saved from my engineering consulting work. "Don't worry about money, son," I told Brandon that gray March morning. "Focus on grieving your mother." I worked extra consulting projects after early retirement, weekdays reviewing construction blueprints for architectural firms, weekends fixing foundation issues for neighbors. My hands stayed busy so my mind wouldn't wander to that empty house where Charlotte's laughter used to echo through every room. Brandon moved back in temporarily. Temporarily became 2 years. I cooked his meals, managed household expenses, watched him heal while I learned to live without my Charlotte's voice calling my name from the kitchen. When Brandon met Victoria in early 2022, I was happy for him. Digital marketing specialist, college-educated, ambitious smile. They married that fall in a ceremony I paid $15,000 for from my retirement fund. My 401k got smaller, but my son was building his future. "You've given me everything, Dad," Brandon said at the reception. "I'll never forget this." I'd made a promise at Charlotte's dying bedside. That promise was simple. Take care of our boy until he could take care of himself. I thought I'd kept that promise. I thought wrong. Spring 2023 brought Brandon and Victoria to my kitchen table with real estate listings. They'd found their dream house on Maple Grove. 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage, perfect neighborhood for future grandchildren. Price tag $365,000. "We can't afford the down payment," Brandon admitted, his hands fidgeting with his coffee cup. "The bank wants 20%. That's $73,000 we don't have." Victoria leaned forward. "Brandon mentioned you might consider helping with a loan." I looked at those young faces. Charlotte would have wanted our son in a real home, not renting apartments forever. My pension had built up over 35 years of steady engineering work. Charlotte's life. Insurance still sat untouched in certificates of deposit. "I'll handle the whole down payment," I said. "Call it an early inheritance." Their faces lit up like Christmas morning. The closing happened 3 weeks later. My lawyer, Catherine Mills, sat across from us at the title company. She'd handled Charlotte's estate, knew my financial situation better than anyone. "Preston," she whispered during a break. "Keep the deed in your name initially for tax purposes. Transfer it later when their credit improves." I signed the papers. My name went on the deed as sole owner. Brandon and Victoria got the keys, thinking they owned their piece of the American dream. What Brandon didn't know about that paperwork made all the difference later. 6 months later, the changes started subtle. Brandon used to call twice a week just to check on his old man. After the wedding, those calls became monthly, then holidays only. Victoria's influence crept into our conversations like ivy covering a fence. "Dad's just old. School," Brandon would say, when I offered advice about their finances. "You wouldn't understand his generation, honey." Victoria would smile, that perfect marketing specialist smile. "Of course, Mr. Garrett. You've done so much already." but her eyes stayed cold as winter pond ice. Christmas 2023. They invited me for dinner. I brought gifts for everyone, stories from my construction consulting, memories of Charlotte's holiday traditions. Victoria spent the meal checking her phone. Brandon talked about cryptocurrency investments and property values like I wasn't there. "Your father seems tired," Victoria told Brandon in the kitchen. I heard every word from the living room. Maybe he should consider downsizing. That big house must be hard to maintain at his age. Brandon nodded along. "Yeah, Dad's not getting any younger." I kept quiet, kept listening, kept noticing how they talked around me instead of to me. Charlotte always said the quietest people hear the most important conversations. She was right about that. That's when I started paying closer attention, and what I started hearing made my blood run cold with disappointment. Best Buy on Marshall Avenue has everything an old engineer needs. I told the young clerk I wanted to record family stories for posterity, not entirely a lie. He showed me a digital voice recorder small enough to hide in a shirt pocket. "This model runs for 12 hours on one battery," he explained. "Crystal clear audio, even picks up whispers from across a room. $89, small price for peace of mind." I practiced at home first, sitting in Charlotte's old chair, learning the buttons, testing the range. The device picked up conversations from the kitchen while I sat in the living room. Amazing what technology can do these days. My first real test came during Brandon's visit that next Sunday. They stopped by to borrow my truck for moving furniture. Simple request, but something in Victoria's tone made me suspicious. "Just be careful with the tailgate," I said, clipping the recorder to my belt. "It sticks sometimes." "We know how to handle a truck, Dad," Brandon replied. Sharp, impatient, different than the boy I raised. After they left, I played back the recording. Clear as a bell, every word captured, even their whispered conversation in the driveway about getting the old man to sell this place eventually. I started documenting everything. Every visit, every phone call, every casual conversation that revealed their true feelings about their burden of a father. February 2024 brought Valentine's preparations and careless words. Brandon and Victoria came over to use my larger oven for their dinner party. I stayed busy in the garage, organizing tools, staying out of their way. The recorder sat in my shirt pocket, running silently. They thought I couldn't hear them in the kitchen. "Your father's house is worth at least $425,000 now," Victoria said. Her marketing training showed. "Maybe more with the recent market surge. He'll leave it to me. Eventually," Brandon replied. "We just have to wait. Waiting is for people without options, honey." Victoria's voice dropped lower. "I've been researching asset transfers. There are ways to handle this sooner." Silence, then. "What kind of ways?" Brandon asked. "Digital solutions. If we can show he's becoming confused about finances, we could petition for power of attorney. I know people who handle these transitions professionally." My hand stopped moving on the toolbox. Cold crept up my spine like winter fog. "That seems wrong," Brandon said, but his voice carried doubt, not conviction. "It's practical," Victoria answered. "He's 62. These things need proper planning. I know consultants who specialize in elder asset protection." Recording number 8 changed everything. I understood then that my son's wife wasn't just impatient. She was calculating, and Brandon was becoming her willing student in betrayal. Catherine Mills's law office smelled like leather books and strong coffee. I'd called Monday, morning after that Valentine's recording, asked for an urgent consultation. "Preston, you look troubled," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her mahogany desk. "What can I do for you?" I played the Valentine's recording. Catherine's expression grew darker with each word. When Victoria's voice mentioned asset manipulation, Catherine's pen snapped in her grip. "This is elder abuse conspiracy," Catherine said, "the planning stage of financial exploitation, and it's all documented." She opened a thick file folder. "Fortunately, you made smart choices in 2023. The house deed remains in your name. Brandon has no legal claim to your property." Relief flooded through me like warm sunshine after winter. "But they can still cause problems," Catherine continued. "False medical claims, forged documents, fraudulent power of attorney forms. We need more evidence, more recordings, a clear pattern of intent." Catherine handed me a business card for a digital forensics investigator. "If they forge your signature on anything, we'll have criminal fraud charges. Keep recording, keep documenting. When they make their move, we'll be ready." Catherine's advice was crystal clear. Build the case methodically. Let them expose their intentions fully, then strike with overwhelming evidence and legal authority. 4 months of systematic recording painted a picture I wished didn't exist. Every Sunday visit, every phone call, every casual conversation revealed layers of disrespect and calculation I'd never imagined from my own son. Recording 12. Brandon complaining about wasting gas money visiting the old man every week. Recording 19. Victoria coaching Brandon on keeping Dad dependent so he doesn't make rash decisions about the house. Recording 25. Brandon agreeing that Dad's getting forgetful, probably early cognitive decline setting in. I wasn't forgetful. I was heartbroken. Each conversation got transcribed in a composition notebook Charlotte had given me years ago. Dates, times, exact quotes. Catherine insisted on documentation beyond the audio files. "Juries like paperwork," she said. "Makes things feel official." Victoria's digital marketing skills proved useful for their schemes. She brought investment opportunity forms to 3 different Sunday dinners, just for Dad to review when he's ready. Always left them on my kitchen counter, always with helpful sticky notes showing where to sign. I never signed anything, but I kept every form. Evidence of intent to defraud. Brandon's participation grew bolder each month. He started making comments about my driving, my memory, my ability to manage household finances. By November, I had everything I needed. 36 recordings, 12 attempted fraud documents, 1 composition notebook full of documented elder abuse. My son and his wife had built their own prison with words. December arrived with new indignities. Brandon started making lists, not suggestions, commands. "Dad, Victoria made a list of things you can help with this week," Brandon said, handing me a folded paper. "The gutters need cleaning, the driveway needs sealing, and the garage could use organizing." I read the list. 10 tasks, all physical labor, all at their house, the house I bought them. "These are big jobs for a 62-year-old man," I said carefully. "You're still strong as an ox," Brandon replied. "Besides, you don't have anything else going on. Retired people need projects." Victoria appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Mr. Garrett, we really appreciate you helping out. It saves us so much money on handyman services. The recording device in my pocket captured every word. I spent Tuesday cleaning their gutters, Wednesday sealing their driveway, Thursday organizing tools in their garage while they sat inside watching television. My back ached tight. My hands cramped from gripping unfamiliar tools. But I kept working, kept recording, kept building evidence. Their friends started noticing. Lisa Porter lived next door, watched me working, alone, while Brandon and Victoria relaxed. "Shouldn't your son be helping?" Lisa called over the fence. "Oh, Dad insists on doing everything himself," Victoria answered from the porch. "He's very particular about how things get done." But the worst was yet to come, because serving as their unpaid handyman was just the beginning of their plan to make me feel worthless and dependent. Christmas Eve 2024 brought Brandon's phone call. Formal, stilted, like calling a business acquaintance. "Dad, we'd like you to join us for Christmas dinner," Brandon said. Victoria's family will be here, so dinner's at 3 sharp. Don't bring anything. We've got everything handled. What should I bring for the grandchildren? I asked. Nothing expensive. They have enough toys already. The conversation lasted 90 seconds. No warmth, no excitement about family gathering, just logistical information delivered with cold efficiency. I spent Christmas Eve wrapping presents for grandchildren I barely knew anymore. 8-year-old Fordum, 8-year-old Kur. Isabella, who used to sit on my lap while I read stories. 6-year-old Spencer, who helped me feed birds in my backyard. Now they called me Grandpa Preston, like I was a stranger in a suit. Christmas morning, I dressed carefully. Clean shirt, pressed pants, Charlotte's favorite tie. The recording device sat in my jacket pocket, fully charged, memory cleared for whatever conversations might unfold. I chose gifts thoughtfully. Art supplies for Isabella, building blocks for Spencer, nothing expensive, following Brandon's instructions, but items that might spark creativity and joy. The drive to their house took 15 minutes. 15 minutes to prepare for what I somehow knew would be my last Christmas with Brandon's family. Their driveway was full of cars. Victoria's parents' rental sedan, her brother's pickup truck, friends' vehicles lining the street. I knew it would end badly because people planning betrayal always get careless around holidays. 14 cars lined Maple Grove Street. I parked 3 houses away, walked slowly up the driveway I'd sealed myself in November. The recording device clicked on as I approached their front door. Brandon answered before I knocked. "Hey, Dad. Come on in." No hug, no Merry Christmas, just neutral acknowledgement like I was delivering groceries. Their living room buzzed with conversations I wasn't included in. Victoria's parents held court near the fireplace, sharing stories about their Arizona retirement community. Her college friends clustered around the kitchen island, wine glasses in hand, discussing investment opportunities and market predictions. Isabella and Spencer sat in the corner, already surrounded by open presents. Mountains of expensive toys, electronic games, designer clothes. My carefully chosen art supplies looked shabby beside their abundance. "Grandpa Preston," Isabella called politely. "Thank you for the presents." No excitement, no running to hug me like she used to, just polite acknowledgement coached by parents who'd trained her to maintain distance. Victoria appeared wearing another new outfit. Cashmere sweater, designer jeans, jewelry that caught the Christmas lights. "Mr. Garrett, so glad you could make it. The kitchen could use some attention if you don't mind helping out." Not a request, an assignment. I found their sink full of breakfast dishes, preparation bowls, serving platters waiting to be washed. 14 people's worth of Christmas morning cleanup. No one else in the kitchen, no offers to help. Just me and the dirty dishes while their family celebrated in the next room. 2 hours of dishes, pots from Christmas morning breakfast, serving bowls from appetizers, wine glasses from pre-dinner cocktails. My hands pruned in hot dishwater, while laughter echoed from their living room. "Preston's such a blessing," Victoria's mother announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "So helpful in the kitchen. You're lucky to have such a dedicated father, Brandon." "Yeah, Dad likes staying busy," Brandon replied. "Retirement can be boring otherwise." Their conversation continued without me. Investment strategies, vacation plans, cryptocurrency predictions, topics I understood but wasn't invited to discuss. Isabella appeared beside the sink around 4 p.m. "Grandpa Preston, are you coming to open presents?" "As soon as these dishes are finished, sweetheart," I said, scrubbing their roasting pan. "Mommy said you like washing dishes because you're used to being alone," Isabella said innocently. My hands stopped moving. Used to being alone, like isolation was my natural preference instead of their systematic exclusion. "Go play with your new toys," I said gently. "I'll be there soon." But I wouldn't be there soon. More dishes appeared constantly. More wine glasses, more appetizer plates, an endless stream of cleanup that kept me separated from family conversations. Victoria checked on my progress periodically. "You're doing great, Mr. Garrett. Really appreciate you taking care of the kitchen work." Taking care of the kitchen? Work, not helping with dishes, not contributing to family gathering, just handling the manual labor nobody else wanted. Then I heard my name from the dining room. Victoria's voice carried clearly. Wine had loosened tongues, made them careless about volume. "Brandon's father is becoming such a burden," she said. "He shows up every Sunday expecting attention like we don't have our own lives to live." "Elderly parents can be challenging," her college friend Janet replied. "My father went through a clingy phase before we found him a nice, assisted living place." "That's exactly what Brandon and I have been discussing," Victoria continued. "There are some beautiful senior communities in the area, much more appropriate for someone his age." Brandon's voice joined the conversation. "Dad gets confused about boundaries sometimes, thinks he can just drop by whenever he wants. We've talked about setting firmer limits." My hands gripped the dish towel tighter, confused about boundaries. Like visiting my son, once a week was inappropriate behavior. "The house situation complicates things," Victoria added. "He's living in that big place all alone, not really capable of maintaining it properly. We're concerned about his safety." "Could you convince him to sell?" Janet asked. "We're working on it," Brandon said. "Victoria's been handling some of the paperwork to make transitions easier when the time comes." Paperwork. The investment transfer forms she'd been leaving on my counter for months. Recording 36 would be the last one I needed because I'd just heard them confess to conspiracy, elder abuse planning, and intent to commit fraud. All captured in crystal clear digital audio while they thought I was safely isolated in their kitchen. 5:30 brought the moment I'd been dreading and expecting. Brandon appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face set with determination that looked rehearsed. "Dad, we need to talk," Brandon said. I dried my hands slowly, followed him to the living room where 14 people sat in uncomfortable silence. Victoria's family, Brandon's friends, my grandchildren watching with wide, confused eyes. "Dad," Brandon began, his voice carrying across the room. "We've been discussing some changes that need to happen." Everyone stared. A fork clattered against someone's plate. A wine glass clinked as it hit a table. "You're not welcome here anymore," Brandon continued. "Victoria and I have decided we need space from your constant visits and demands for attention." The words hit like physical blows. Not welcome. In the house I'd bought them, at Christmas dinner, with my grandchildren, after 8 hours of washing their dishes and serving their guests. "I understand completely, son," I heard myself say. My voice stayed steady somehow, calm, almost grateful. Brandon looked surprised by my response. Victoria smiled, that marketing specialist smile, satisfied with her successful manipulation. "You'll always be welcome to call before visiting," Victoria added. "We just need better boundaries going. Or forward." Spencer started crying quietly. Isabella stared at her hands. The other guests studied their plates, uncomfortable with the public family drama. I walked through their dining room, past their Christmas tree, toward their front door. 14 people watched me leave in silence. The December air bit at my cheeks as I walked down their driveway. Behind me, their house glowed with Christmas lights I'd helped hang in November. Warm yellow windows showed silhouettes of family I was no longer welcome to join. Lisa Porter stood at her mailbox, pretending to check for late deliveries. Her neighbor's radar had picked up the tension from inside Brandon's house. "Everything all right, Preston?" she called softly. "Everything's perfect, Lisa," I replied, surprising myself with how true that felt. Better than perfect, actually. My truck started easily, despite the cold. The heater began warming my hands as I pulled away from Maple Grove Street. The recording device in my pocket had captured everything Every cruel word, every calculated dismissal, every public humiliation witnessed by 14 people who now knew exactly what kind of man my son had become. What they didn't know was Monday would change everything. Because quiet men who work with engineering understand systems, how they build slowly, how they connect through unexpected pathways, and how they deliver exactly the force needed when the switch finally gets thrown. Monday morning arrived with the quiet authority of justice about to be served. Catherine Mills reviewed our evidence with prosecutor precision. 36 recordings over 4 months shows premeditation, she said. These aren't heat-of-the-moment mistakes. This is calculated fraud. She opened her computer timeline. We'll coordinate eviction service with arrest warrants. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. Give them maximum shock value, minimum time to destroy evidence. What if they resist? I asked. They won't, Catherine said confidently. Property deed is clear. You own the house. They're trespassing. Add criminal fraud charges, and they'll want to cooperate with law enforcement. Tuesday morning, December 30th, 9 a.m. sharp. 3 patrol cars pulled into Brandon and Victoria's driveway with the quiet authority that announces serious legal business. I sat in my truck across the street watching Deputy Bradley walk up the sidewalk I'd repaired last summer. Behind him, 2 younger officers carried briefcases thick with warrants and legal documents. Lisa Porter appeared at her window. Neighborhood radar fully activated. Even old Mr. Peterson, who rarely left his porch, stood watching the Garrett family drama unfold. Brandon answered the door in pajamas and confusion. Even from across the street, I could see his face go pale as Deputy Bradley displayed his badge and began reading from official papers. Brandon Garrett and Victoria Garrett, we have warrants for your arrest on charges of elder financial abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted identity theft. Victoria appeared beside Brandon, her hair uncombed, her voice carrying clearly across the quiet neighborhood. This is impossible. We haven't done anything illegal. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent, Deputy Bradley continued. You also have eviction papers requiring you to vacate these premises within 24 hours. The handcuffs clicked around Victoria's wrists with metallic finality. Brandon stood frozen, watching his wife get arrested while neighbors documented everything with cell phone cameras. Isabella appeared at the upstairs window, her 8-year-old face confused by the scene below. 2 months later, February's courtroom delivered justice. Judge Amanda Foster sentenced Victoria to 18 months in state prison, with 6 months served, remainder suspended to probation, full restitution, and permanent prohibition from financial services licensing. Brandon received 12-month probation, community service, and mandatory elder abuse awareness counseling. 6 months later, I received 1 handwritten letter on prison stationery. Victoria's handwriting, but the words sounded like Brandon. Dad, I'm sorry. I let someone else's greed destroy what mattered most. When I get out, I want to earn back your respect, if you'll let me try. Today, I live quietly in Heritage Grove Senior Community. Coffee every morning in the community room, book club Tuesday evenings, volunteer work with elder abuse prevention programs, real friendship replaced forced family obligations. The door remains open for Brandon's genuine change, but I've learned the most valuable lesson of my 62 years. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't the revenge itself, but discovering you never needed their approval to have worth. Because at the end of the day, dignity isn't something others can take from you. It's something you choose to keep, one quiet decision at a time.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.